Juan Mendez Scott's The Guest Room. Chapter 9. Liana was the deadly type. I was sitting at the stoplight on Western Parkway and Plaza Way in Waldorf when I saw him. I had just gotten off work and was starving, having had nothing to eat all day. I wanted to drive over to the Waldorf marketplace to grab something fast to eat. I kept looking over at the TGI Fridays, thinking about their hot wings. But he kept revving up his engine, which took my mind off of food. The vibration from the revved-up engine was making my already bad nerves worse. He was driving one of those old classic souped-up cars with the big, fat, juicy tires. A black and orange Camaro. The light turned green. I decided to follow him for some strange reason. I knew I wasn't going to follow Phil Richardson all the way home, although he and Liana's townhouse was in Fort Washington. But I was hoping to somehow get his attention to pull over so that I could talk to him. I ended up skipping my left turn onto 2-28 and followed Phil down Western Parkway until he made a left turn onto Acton Lane. He made one of those fishtailing left turns, almost having an accident. I was shocked I was able to keep up with that souped-up Camaro. But I had to admit my BMW was pretty quick. I was dying to get home to eat something and get drunk. Ever since I found out about the affair, I would rush home from work to see if I could catch them in the act, and never could. They usually screwed each other on Preston's lunch break anyway, because they knew I wasn't ever coming home for lunch. I didn't have the time. So I decided to follow Phil, just to see how far he'd take me before I could get his attention and talk to him. I followed him from Acton Lane until it turned onto Gardner Road, which took us to Accokeek Road. From there, I followed him from Accokeek to the back roads of Floral Park Road, which took us to Brandywine Road. Phil was speeding the whole time like he was going crazy, and it was drizzling and foggy. I hated driving in bad weather anyway. My nerves had gone from bad to critical. That's when I realized he was probably going to his mother's house. I remembered going with Liana to a cookout Phil's mom gave, and I remembered her living off Brandywine Road. And I was right. Phil drove to his mom's house on Brook Jane Drive in Clinton, Maryland. I was about 10 to 15 minutes from my house, which wasn't too bad. I pulled up behind Phil as he sped into his mother's driveway, going about 100 miles an hour. His car barely kissed the bumper of his mother's black Mercedes-Benz E-Class. The house was probably older than Phil and I, probably built in the 80s, the same time we were born. It was a tan brick split foyer with black shutters and a black door. The bay window was just as big as the house. He got out of the car and headed my way, walking fast and pissed off. I was about to get out to greet him, but he scared me back into my car. Although Phil wasn't anything to be scared of for real. Not a bad-looking guy. He had an eggshell complexion with bad skin. He had acne growing up, and his skin never recovered from the chickenpox he suffered later in life. And he was a skeleton with big hands and big feet. A strong wind would snatch him away before he could even get off a punch to throw at me. He would always drink beer while sitting in front of his huge flat-screen TV in his man cave in the basement. And he had big, watery bug eyes that made him look scared all the time. What always drew women to Phil was his jet-black curly hair they used to love. But he never cared about that kind of stuff. Women loving his curly hair and big hands and feet didn't faze Phil. He just wanted to drink beer, work on cars, and later watch some TV. He was wearing a grungy blue mechanic's uniform and huge black, oily boots. From what I could remember, Phil always had a hard time finding jobs. But he loved working on cars, especially the classic ones. That's how he made his money to pay his bills. "No, you're not going nowhere," Phil said, yelling as he walked up to my car. "Move, Phil," I said. "Where is she?" Phil asked, still yelling and banging on my window. "I know you know where she is." "No, I don't." "You do know." "Lion ass." I looked at him, both scared and curious. "Why are you after her? Why are you here?" "To tell me where she's at." "I don't know where she is, Phil." "Bullshit. You do fucking know." "I don't." "Phil," Mrs. Richardson said, yelling from her porch. "Get in this house and get out of that girl's face." Phil looked at me, his eyes huge and watery. "Where is she, Doris?" "I know you know." That's why I followed you, because I was going to ask you if you've seen her. Phil glared at me as if he wanted to murder me instead of Liana. Please, Doris, don't lie to me. Please don't lie to me. He was saying please, but he wasn't begging. He was giving me a warning. I'm not lying. Phil snatched my door open like he was about to snatch it right off my car. You know where the fuck she is. And you're gonna fucking tell me. I reached my arm out, grabbing the handle and trying to close my door. But I couldn't. Phil wouldn't let me. I can't tell you something I don't know, I whined. I know you know what rock she's hiding under. Have you been looking under any rocks? I don't know where she is. Phil's eyes scanned around in my car. He held his hand out at me, wiggling his fingers. Let me see your phone. 'Cause I know you talked to her recently. She'll answer if I call her from your phone. I looked at Phil and frowned. Hell no, I wasn't giving him my damn phone. Now I was warning him. Phil, you need to chill out. I don't need to do nothing. No, you need to chill out. Phil leaned toward me as if he was about to yank me out of the car. Let me see your phone. I know you love the girl, but this is ridiculous. No, I need to find Liana. And I know you know where she is. I don't. Bullshit. You full of shit. Just like she is. From out of nowhere, Mrs. Richardson walked up and grabbed Phil by the collar. From the sound that came from his throat, she almost yoked him out of his boots, snatching a knot in his skinny ass. She was a small woman with short curly hair and eyes like, well, let me put it to you this way. I could see where Phil got his big watery eyes from. I always remembered her smoking like a dirty fireplace and wearing bright orange polish on her long nails. What I most remembered about Mrs. Richardson was she used to have beads of sweat on the tip of her nose and on her top lip, looking mad and evil all the time. I said get in the house and leave her alone. Mrs. Richardson pulled Phil away from my car and shoved him toward the house. I rushed out of my car. Phil, I will talk to you, I said. I need to talk to you. But you need to calm down first.